Hello, I'm Robin Henning, and welcome to another Exchange Life Nugget of Truth. What comes to your mind when you hear the word surrender? It can easily have both good and bad connotations. For example, if two armies are at war and one is overrun by the other, the losing commander may choose to try to negotiate terms of surrender. Now, this is always a scary and humiliating thing for the losing army. So surrender in this case is something to be feared and avoided because of the hostility and hatred of the enemy. Now, in contrast, I want you to picture a 5-year-old child standing on the edge of a swimming pool with his father holding his arms out, saying to the boy, "Just jump, son, I'll catch you." Well, in order to jump into his father's arms, he has to surrender to his father's will, believing that his father will catch him. Now, what is the real key for his son to take this leap of faith? Well, the son has to believe that his father really loves him enough to catch him and not let him fall and drown in the water. Now, let me ask you, what emotions arise when you consider totally surrendering to Papa God? Well, I know that when I was much younger, that idea really terrified me. You see, I grew up in a gospel-preaching, legalistic church. They taught salvation by grace, followed by keeping a whole set of rules and regulations. So God would only love and accept you when you were walking in obedience. And if you didn't walk in obedience, then the lightning bolts would come. And in my life, most of those lightning bolts equated to losing a loved one. So I was scared to death of God. I didn't really trust in His love and His kindness toward me. So the idea of surrendering to Him meant that I would be miserable because I wasn't performing perfectly. And this, in my mind, equated to being single, eating bugs, living in the Amazon. That would make me miserable. Okay, my idea of roughing it's the Ramada. Okay, it's not living in the jungle. So my real problem stemmed from not truly understanding Papa's unconditional love for me. I thought I had to perform to gain that love, but the reality is that Papa has always loved me, even before I was born, and His love has never been one moment influenced by my choices, or whether they were right or wrong. Now, the more I learn to surrender to His love for me, the more quickly and the more easily it becomes to walk in obedience and to walk in step with the Spirit. You see, there's no room for fear in my relationship, other than godly fear and reverence and respect for the Father. Now, why is this? Because Papa's complete love for me, it repels fear. Okay? Satan, though, he's smart. He is seeking to constantly undermine our faith in God's love. Chief among his tactics is to get us to see, or evaluate is a better word, evaluate Papa's love for us through the grid of our circumstances. So if life is going easy and smooth and Papa loves me, well, okay, what happens if bad stuff starts to happen and life gets rough and it gets, a bit daunting? Well, then Papa doesn't love me anymore. I must have done something wrong and I can't trust God. And Satan's constantly accusing God to us through our circumstances. So what do we have to do? We have to begin to understand that the only proper evaluation or test for Papa's love is the cross. He demonstrated His own love for us, that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. Now, think about this. If evaluating His love was based on our circumstances, then what did He ask Jesus to do? He asked Jesus to die a horrible, painful death. Well, then Papa didn't love Jesus. If circumstances are the measure, then He didn't love Jesus. But that's not true at all. You see, Jesus knew that His Father loved Him, so much so that became the catalyst, the energy behind His being able to choose to be obedient to the point of death on the cross. Even though it was a horrible, painful death, Jesus knew that Papa wasn't going to leave Him in the grave. Papa's plan would prevail. And so he knew that on that third day he was coming back. He knew that the Father was going to accept his blood as the perfect sacrifice. And he knew that the grave wasn't his end. He knew he was going to triumph over the grave. He knew that he was going to redeem us. And that's what gave him the joy that enabled him to endure the cross. So, beloved, let me ask you this. Are you struggling? Are you wrestling with Papa instead of surrendering to his love for you? You know, perhaps Papa is patiently waiting for you to surrender to his loving arms, to his path of healing, to his path of ministry or life choices for you. Why not take time now just to ask the Holy Spirit, like it says in Psalm 139, to search you, to test you, to see if there's any wrong pattern of thinking, if there's any lies that you're believing against Papa's character and his love. And whatever the Holy Spirit shows you, please be quick to surrender it to him and to receive his truth and his love in its place. The more we surrender to his unfailing love, the easier it is to walk in obedience to the Holy Spirit who led Jesus and who also promises to comfort and to lead us. So I hope this encourages you. I hope you can learn to surrender and rest in his love this week. Have a blessed week in Jesus. We'll see you next time.